Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's episode of Ask Dr. Zaino. Thank you so much for being here. We've got a lot of people on the line already and even more that are flooding in. And so let me just say thank you for being on here live. That means a lot. Let me remind you, underneath this video, you'll see links to all of the Chiro Thought Leaders social media sites and promos. And so you can like, you can share, you can give it a G+ for Google, or even pin it to Pinterest. So go ahead and do that for us. Let's share this with all of our colleagues and let everybody know that we're together, we're training, we're growing tonight. Below the social media links, you'll see a live chat, and you can chat in there. We'll be able to see your questions. That's what it's all about. And Dr. Zaino and our guest, Dr. Fred DiDomenico, tonight. It's a special night, and they'll be fielding your questions tonight. We're going to go ahead and start with the format's going to change just a little bit because Dr. Fred's here and we want to hear some training from him. So we're going to start with a little bit of training, and that might even answer a lot of your questions already. And then we'll follow that up by fielding all the live questions out there, and then even some that you emailed to us, which we appreciate as well. So, Dr. Fred, welcome to the show tonight. How you doing, man?
Thanks, you guys. It's always a great honor to just hang out with you guys and really just contribute to the profession as much as possible. Obviously, Dr. Chris and Dr. Tabor, what you're doing is friggin' awesome. This is a great vehicle, and it's really just an honor to be here as always.
Awesome, thanks, man. We've been getting a lot of really good feedback, a lot of live interaction, and I mean, hundreds of people have been even watching the replays. I think we had 600 or 700 views on the last episode, so it's been awesome. But we're honored to have you here tonight, and share with us what are you going to be teaching on?
Well, I think we're going to go through a little bit of perspective shift. Actually, I don't think I know, and I've been thinking a bunch, and we've been at this game 120 years. We're not even close to the tipping point. So are we going to keep banging our head against the wall, or are we going to create a little reality shift? When any industry transforms, you look at Uber. Uber totally changed the taxi cab industry, and I think chiropractic is ready for a massive industry change. It's about time that we have a global message. It can change humanity. And we really haven't done that to the responsibility that I think we should, in spite of the fact we have great leaders. And so what we've been doing is the same thing over and over. And there's really a question. I got this in the first 15 minutes of being in Genius Network a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
Joe Bush asked the question. He said, if you want to create a great business, when really want to create a great profession, what things aren't going to change in the next 25 years? And so when we look, what things haven't changed in chiropractic in 120 years? The principle. Principle hasn't changed. Spinal correction hasn't changed. Right? A subluxated spine, life force in the body brings health. A subluxation causes disease. And let's friggin' fix it. How about that? So two things that will never change. Now we look at that basis, then then the next question is, we need to innovate how we communicate that. So if those are the principles and we stick with those two basic premises, then the innovation and the flexibility comes through communication. Now what we've done for 120 years is throw up an x-ray, talk about the principle. Great, great, great. If you're fired up enough, maybe you have a big practice, but there's still people that walk out because some people buy your passion and some people don't. Yet every person counts because that person walks out subluxated. So all I did, as I've said this many times, is let's look at what the world-class leaders do. What do the world-class influencers do, right? And the problem with chiropractic is we haven't looked at the rest of the world. What we've done is we've stayed in our chiropractic bubble. And we've been so focused on being doctors that we forgot that in order to create a lifetime patient, we want to create a mind shift. They have to change their mind, change the way they live. Right? We don't want them to vaccinate their kids. Hey, don't eat GMO foods. Really live an optimal spine, optimal health lifestyle. Because we look at the way we live and we go against the grain of the rest of the general public, and we think because I show you an x-ray and describe the principle that you're going to change your whole life in 10 minutes, beside the fact it may have taken us 10 years if we're even at that level of conviction, right?
Yeah.
And then you expect people to change their life when they're coming in wired. Their brain and nervous system and emotional behavior is wired in a certain pattern, and your x-ray is just not going to do that in some cases.
Yeah.
So if we can change the perspective of how we look, if you want to create lifetime patients, you got to change their mindset. And how do you do that? You have to change their emotional pattern. How do you do that? You have to look at yourself, and the profession is chiropractic is the most powerful and effective self-empowerment system with a healthcare application, right? Everybody in the world knows people buy why. And then when they buy why,
Right.
then they use how. We've been communicating a how for 20 years. I mean, 120 years with the adjustment. And people on there, well, we've been communicating why with the principal. Yeah, but some people, just because that's our why doesn't mean their why. Just because it's the truth doesn't mean they buy it. So I just look at what are the T. Harv Ekers, the Tony Robbins, all these people that are out there changing the world. That have thousands of people in the audience paying tens of thousands of dollars to show them how to do what? Make more money, how to find a new girlfriend, how to have a better marriage. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you pay $10,000 to find a great girlfriend. Seriously, you're subluxated.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's awesome because those seminars change your life. But when we look at the comparison of a subluxated spine and nervous system, hey, T. Harv Eker and those guys, Tony Robbins, man, they're changing the world. That's why we want to emulate what they do. Why don't we pop that chiropractic bubble of our perception, and we can pop that bubble, change our perception, do what world changers are doing, realize that you're actually a self-empowerment coach, and when you see yourself as that, you can create that mind shift in people that can make them desire to want to live their lives differently, and then chiropractic is how.
Right.
Yeah, no offense to, finding a great girlfriend or boyfriend or anything. I mean, you get the gist, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, great leaders.
It was Evan Pagan who was the who was he? I forget, David D'Angelo, and he actually started, made millions of dollars trying to teach people how to pick up women, and then now he's moved into personal growth and business, and now he shares that to millions of entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, and guess what? You know what he's doing to pick up women? NLP. They're doing NLP things.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Tony Robbins, NLP, all the major influencers are doing NLP stuff that has advanced. And so it's like, okay, if you can move your bodies in ways, if you can communicate and understand and how to release people's subconscious patterns that help them think differently, because your subconscious mind is ruling 95% of your life. And you realize that you can give information, but you're talking to their frontal lobe, you're talking to their conscious mind, when it's their subconscious mind that's making their decisions. Only you don't know that. So how do you dip into someone's subconscious mind, change those emotional patterns, find the inspiration within themselves, release those barriers to make them want to do something different, and then that prepay, the commitment to the program, time, money, family, all of that comes. Now, why do I get up here and preach this? Not because I think I'm freaking brilliant or stupid or whatever I think I am. It doesn't matter. What it is I see it in elite clients. You know what I mean? I watch people come back. They go to a boot camp, they go to a seminar, they learn these techniques, and because they become more self-empowered, when you release the barriers in yourself, you become more clear. You can't help anybody clear barriers within them until you clear them within yourself. And this most powerful self-empowerment system, that people become so clear, and then you learn the techniques how to clear them in others, boom, people break records so fast. I mean, we guarantee a 30 to 50% increase. That's minimum. Within a few months of the boot camps. Why? Because it's what you're learning, man, and how you learn to become an inspired leader and see yourself as a self-empowerment coach. Your vision of yourself changes.
Right.
Can we create a pattern interruption in the profession, please? Can we interrupt this pattern? You know why? I'll tell you why. Ask me why.
Why?
Thank you very much. I need group participation. Because I want to see humanity get chiropractic while I'm walking in this body. I think we need to do it in our lifetime. And that means we need an accelerant, right? We need that accelerant that's going to take that fire and friggin' burn it around the world, because what we've done has not done it. And
Right.
I want to see it in my lifetime. I want you to see it in your lifetime, and I want every doctor on here to see it in their lifetime, but we have to view ourselves differently. And in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's going to be the most powerful way to do that.
Well, I agree. Um, Now, tell us a little bit. I mean, we're at why, but it's my understanding that there are 7 steps in this
Right.
process.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the 7 steps and then we'll answer questions, because the 7 steps are probably going to blow your mind and you'll understand it, and I'll try and simplify it way down. And so, really, step 1, you have to understand their world. Step 1, what's that mean? You have to understand their emotional pattern. Okay, you're like, great, I get it. How do you do that? Well, it's the easiest, hardest thing. You have to be so calm and peaceful in yourself and so confident with what you know that you don't have to spit out all this information. You don't have to show them what you know. What you do is you put yourself in their shoes. And when you actually become empathetic and compassionate, and you try and imagine what it's like in their life. So when somebody says, what's my insurance cover? Why would they say that? Right? I've gone through this 8 million times.
Right.
Someone says, I don't believe in chiropractic. Well, what have they been through? Maybe their doctor was a medical doctor and they had a patient that was injured by a chiropractor. Maybe, who knows? Maybe they went to a chiropractor and they had a bad experience. Maybe, they've been sold so many things that, they didn't trust that person. They bought something, and maybe that person said they were going to fix their spine and they didn't. Maybe they've been going to chiropractors and they still have the same problem, and once you go, you always have to go. So first of all, you have to know what the objection is. Ask a question. I'm sure there's a reason, Mr. Jones, that you feel that way. Would you mind explaining what it is? And you got to look at what needs are they trying to meet. I went through this in the last webinar. If someone has a fear, they're clinging on to certainty. And maybe they're hanging on to that buoy in the middle of the ocean. Like, this is all I know, and if I let go of this. See, the thing is, you could do a good job, and people could understand disease. But the problem is, they may be so overwhelmed in their life that if you put one more condition on their life, they feel like they're going to break. And the uncertainty and the fear of one more thing that, oh my God, I'm barely getting by in my life. Now you're telling me my body and health are breaking down. That may throw them into overwhelm. What's their emotional position? So you watch their body. You put yourself in their shoes. You watch how they move, and you feel what they feel, and you go, Mrs. Jones, is this message overwhelming? They'll probably break down and cry. I mean, how many people cry in your office? Tons. But just because they cry doesn't mean they're going to commit. It means they're a victim.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Not everybody that cries commits. All of a sudden they cry. You think they're done. You're all happy. You send them into financial. Well, I didn't know it was that much.
Right.
I have to buy a new car. So you have to find out, what do they value? Are they meeting certainty? People get loving connection. There's certainty, uncertainty, significance, loving connection, growth, and contribution. Some people get connection through their disease. So when something reinforces an emotional pattern, they repeat it. No, you got to call them out on that. If that's what you think it is, go, what does this disease? So you're sick and you've adapted to it, right? How has that served you in your life? Well, it hasn't. Okay, but you definitely talk about it. You know what I mean? So you're definitely expressing that. Is it a way that you connect with yourself?
Right.
How does that make you feel? Like people that are in despair, people that have emotional trauma. There's 8 reasons why 8 benefits to a person being in despair. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I'm not going to go through this, but one is connection with themselves and others. You know what I mean? So a bad marriage, a person can create a disease, but they get attention from their spouse.
Right.
Even though it's negative attention. So these are the things you have to pick up, understand their world. The next thing is you have to create a base, create leverage. They got to take responsibility. So, Mrs. Jones, I notice you do go from doctor to doctor to doctor. That's got to be very frustrating for you and your husband. You know what I mean? What else? Do you have anything in your life that makes you feel good, or is this it? Well, I don't feel very good. No, I mean, I understand. Yeah, so you have to put a lot of attention into this. Would you agree that a lot of your energy goes into this?
Right.
Does that feel like it's draining you? You know what I mean? So the more attention you give, does it feel like it's draining you?
That's where they've got to own the product, own the problem.
Yeah, so they have to take responsibility. Responsibility is like when you look at a track star in a 100-meter sprint or whatever, 100-yard sprint, they have blocks. So they have resistance they have to push against until they take responsibility. So you ask a question, you know, because we teach people how to ask questions. Mr. Jones, when you look at that x-ray, what's that mean to you? Well, I don't know, Doc. You're the doctor. You tell me. That's a no responsibility response.
Yep.
See, they don't want to take responsibility because if they do, then they have to take an action. But they don't want to take an action.
That's right.
So what would I say? I'd say, well, I know what it is, and I just explained it to you. So what did we just talk about? Why don't you tell me? And they say, well, you're the doc. I don't know. Well, this is your disease. Is it important for you to know? Boom, right there. They can't say no to that.
Man, I've had the exact, I mean, like you're speaking quotation marks around what you just said. I've had that happen.
Yeah, they won't take responsibility.
Yeah.
You have no leverage, you have no power, they will never take an empowered action, and they're going to walk out. So that person, a doc, well, I don't know, you tell me, do those people tend to commit to care?
No.
Yeah, because they have no responsibility. They can't take an empowered action. So right there you have to say, Miss Jones, this isn't my disease, this is yours.
Yeah. Man, that's strong. I mean, I guess if you're sincere and in a loving way, but I mean it's hard for me to come out and say that.
Yeah, well, I would say, you know what? I would love to help you, but I can't help you till you help me and you help yourself.
Right on.
Right? So would you agree when you look at that x-ray, what is that? And so does that look like normal? No, it doesn't. So if it's abnormal, then there's a problem. Right? And I go, what problem, based on when we talked about your spinal cord, nervous system, and organs, what problem is that causing in your body and health? Now, right there, they got to say it's disease. Okay, well, that's a fact. Now you would talk about from the consultation, by the time you're in day 2, you already got their values, who they're becoming subluxated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now you would talk about their values and their identity and how that's interrupting with the thing they value most. And then, okay, so what if their value was, you're a father and a provider? Then I'd say, okay, hey, you've provided for your family so far, but as your body weakens, what do you think as you get older happens to your body? Your back is weak, your energy levels are depleting, your immune system is weak, you already have a history of cancer in your family, you have a history of heart disease, and now you see that this pattern runs in families. So when you look at that, do you think there's a possibility that may threaten you as a provider in a family?
Mm-hmm.
And what are they going to say? No. Now, if they say no, that's your problem. They don't believe they have a disease. But if they say yes, you go, so if that threatens the most important thing in your life, how do you feel about that? What's that mean to you? See, here's the thing, gang. Here's what you don't realize, because I'm going to go through 7 steps here, and then you're going to say, well, my God, if I do all of what I'm doing, plus I do that, I'm going to be there and there forever. No. Breaks. What you do is you don't spend any more time. You say different things. You say different things. You spend, probably a fourth of the time giving information, because they really should get that from the workshop. You spend more time asking questions. You spend more time talking about their emotions, getting them to take responsibility, creating leverage, then creating a pattern interruption. Understand their world, find out what needs they're trying to meet, get responsibility, now create a pattern interruption. What would be a pattern interruption question? Could also be a responsibility question. So, Mr. Jones, this you? Well, I don't know, Doc, this is you. Well, it's your disease. So when you look at that, what's that mean to you? And here's your values. You know, you're a provider. Is that going to prevent you from being a great provider? Yeah, is that the most important thing? So what you're saying is, if you keep going down the same path you're going, that you're going to sacrifice the most important thing to you and your family. Right? Are you going to keep doing the same thing you've always done? And now if someone says, Doc, just crack my back, I'd be like,
Right.
I'd say, you just, number one, you didn't answer my question. Why? Because they don't want to take responsibility. It's too big. I'd say, so right there, put yourself in their shoes. Why wouldn't they want to answer the question? Because they're overwhelmed. So I'd say, you know, I know that's a really hard question to ask, so you must be really overwhelmed when you look at this. The threat of losing the most valuable thing in your life must be overwhelming. And I would say, Jim, whatever his name is, it's only overwhelming if you don't do anything about it. Wham! That's like, boom! It's only overwhelming if you keep it. And then I would shut my mouth. That's a pattern interruption. Okay, so what you have is step one, find out who they are, understand their world. Step two, create leverage. Hey, it's not my disease, it's yours. Take responsibility. Now, when you see the meaning, what's that mean to you? Here's who you are, you know, and then you got to go pattern interruption. Here's who you are, here's what means the most. So if you keep going, are you going to lose everything that you're working for? That's a major pattern interruption question. Yeah, can you actually keep doing this and create the most value of your life and take care of your family at its highest level? Yeah, so if you can't do that, what's that mean to you? Well, I'm a failure. Now you got to create a new pattern. I go, Jim, you're not really a failure. You just realize you can't go down the same road. That's a pattern interruption. Step 4, or step 5, sorry, is reframe. Yeah, step 4 is reframe. I'm sorry. Understand their world, create responsibility, interrupt their pattern, and then redefine. So right here I redefine. I go, Jim, you're not a failure. You've actually done great things in your life. But this one aspect of your life is failing. So you're not a failure. See, I'm gonna lift up his identity. You're not a failure, but this road on this particular thing will fail you. I go, I would imagine with everything you're doing in your life, you don't want to fail. No. So is this a one thing in your life that would be the most important to change? Boom, reframe. Redefine. Now, is that more powerful than going, well, this is subluxated here, and la 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 la, and there's principle, and the principle's great, and you're going to explain that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go on for 10 minutes. Because the other 8 minutes, you're better off doing this. The other 7 minutes or 5 minutes, you're better off doing this and creating that emotional pattern. Hey, 5 minutes of principle, 5 minutes of 7 steps. And you're well on your way to beginning a lifetime patient. But if you don't clear this stuff on day 1 and day 2, it's over.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you can still convert some, but you got to look at it, man. You know what? I'm happy with my 50% conversion. The average is 30 to 50%, with the leaders doing 50%.
Yeah.
60%. And very few are doing 70%. Well, I'm doing 80%. No, I'm talking about full corrective care. I'm not talking about starting people. Anybody can start 80%. Right? Well, maybe not anybody, but, you know, good, great people that have done communication training can start 80%. I'm not talking about starting them, man. You're talking about focus on lifetime care. So reframe. Step 5, introduce a new state. How do you do that? By seeing the best in them. So I reframe, Jim, you're really not a failure. Actually, I think you're really a great guy, and actually, I think the most important thing to you is to live a life and provide for your family the best. Now they start to feel inspiration. See, when you see the best in them and you communicate it, then they feel it in them and you bring out the best. See, if you want to create a mindset shift, you have to bring out the best. How do you do that? Step 5. Bring out the best in them. Because now I need an empowered action. Before I'm going to tell them they need to go to the workshop, or they need to bring their spouse back to day 2, you better put them in a decent state. Because without a decent state, they're not going to take empowered action. So if you're on day one, Miss Jones, well, I don't know if my husband can make it. I understand. He works. Great. We'll give him a note. Well, I don't know. Well, he owns a company. Then it shouldn't be a problem. Well, I don't know. Okay. Why do you think you're here after this whole day one? Why do you think you're here? Because my body's sick. Why do you think your husband thinks you're here? Because of back pain. Is there a difference between that?
Mm.
Do you think if he knew that the foundation of life and health in your body was weak and you were sick, do you think he'd want to know that? If your husband had a disease that was going to affect your marriage and your health and your income and all these things, would you want to know about it? Would you want to make sure you were involved in that? Anything that affected the safety of your family? Oh, woman, safety in the family, please. Talk about a core value. And she's like, heck yeah. And I go, then how important is it for you to get him here tomorrow? She'd walk out and call him on the phone right there.
Yeah, and that's been a big question that we've been getting by emails, even on here, is everybody's trying to get the spouse. What if they don't want to come? We're just.
Of course they don't want to come, man. You know why? Because they never change their perspective off of back pain.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right on.
Yeah, you know what? Because you didn't deal with their emotion. You didn't take them through these steps. You didn't shift their perspective to see it from a bigger picture that inspired them to want to go home. See, why don't they want to bring them? Because number one, maybe they don't have the value, and number two, they don't want to get in the argument when they go home. They're like, you know what they're thinking? Put yourself in their shoes. You're married. They're thinking, I got to go home and ask him to do something that he doesn't want to do and he doesn't understand. I got enough crap to argue with him about. I don't want to argue about this. Doc just cracked my back.
It's true.
Because you didn't create the perspective shift. Are they leaving with they have a disease? There's problem number one. Second problem, you didn't take them through the steps. Now the reality is, if you do learn this, not only do you get spouse to the ROF, but the probability is, how many times spouse come to the ROF, they become a patient? How many times, if spouse comes to ROF, they certainly can go to the workshop.
Yeah.
And if your workshop's the second visit, you better have a strong day one and a pretty good frame. So you would ask those reframe questions. And then you'd put them into a new state. So Ms. Jones, basically after day one, what's your priority on getting healthy? Do you believe you have a disease that's going to break your body down, affect your health for the rest of your life? Yes, I do. How's that feel? It really friggin' sucks. Okay, so if he can empower you, would you like your husband's support to empower you to get healthy, to change your marriage, to change everything, and to bring your whole life to a new level? Now that's an inspired state. Would he donate, if he could have 1 hour and do this for you for 1 hour that could affect your marriage, relationship, financial security, and keep you out of state of disease and bring you into the state of health, and he had to come for 1 hour, would that be worth it for you? And she'd be like, heck yeah. I go, how are you going to get him here? It's not my problem. It's your problem. I'm going to go home and tell his ass he needs to get here. Great. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, take someone through that. That's about the answer you're going to get.
That's right.
Now, what do you guys do? Well, that takes a long time. Well, the difference is you're sitting there going, explaining facts. Well, this is what we cover and this is what we do, and you have to go to the workshop or I'm not going to take you, and all this information.
Yeah.
Because it's information, 20% influence.
Yeah, and I've been to your boot camps, and I thought it was going to take me forever to implement this stuff because it felt like it took me forever to learn it, but it really doesn't. Once you understand it, it's so smooth, and I'm not saying I do it perfect, but it does flow.
Well, and the thing is about the boot camps is the immersion experience, and you literally get it wired into your body because you're there doing it. The difference is, hey, you can watch a video of driving a tractor, or you get on the freaking tractor. There's definitely, it's like I can watch a video of a stock car, or I can get in the stock car and go around at 200 miles an hour around the track in traffic. That is a significantly different experience, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. The boot camp experience literally wires you into your body. That's why people have such fast growth when they come back. So step 6, condition it into them. So now you introduce a new state, right? How would you feel if you could do this and you could do this? Well, I'd feel amazing. I want you to feel it in your body now. Think about it. Now, how different when you came in Now you think about disease. How's that feel? God, it's ridiculous. Now think about optimal health and feel it in your body. See, what they know what they feel in their body, not what they think in their head. It doesn't matter. Now here's what we're going to do. I mean, really, the condition, the new state, that's after the workshop when you're going the 20, 30-year health and life goals. That's when you're really going to go through, really going to emphasize introducing a new state, condition it into them, and then relate it to their values and principles. So that's the report right after the workshop. We teach you how to master those, how to take people in 7 steps, a different 7 steps in that ROF, and how to bring them into the highest peak state. And once they're in a peak state, then you give them time and money. And so that's really when you're going to do that. You're not really going to condition it into them in day 1, day 2. We have a 3-day system. Whether you're doing 3 days or 2 days, you have to take them through that emotional cycle. So those are the 7 steps. 1, got to understand their world. Where are they coming from? What emotion are they experiencing? Right? 2, they got to take responsibility. You got to ask them a question that they can gain resistance to push off of. They have to take responsibility. 3, you got to create a pattern interruption. A question or a statement that completely changes the way they think. That literally stops them in their tracks, you know, like a train, they're going down the tracks. See, if you use a metaphor of a train, they're driving down these tracks, but they don't even realize it. They're just going down the tracks because it's automatic. And then what you do is you understand and you make them see, okay, I am going down these tracks. And then take responsibility. Wow, if I keep going down these tracks, I'm going to end up in a bad place. And then a pattern interruption and a reframe is like all of a sudden you switch the tracks and they get on a new set of tracks. And then all of a sudden that's redefined. And then they go, okay, now I'm going this different direction. God, this feels way better than it does over here. And this is actually where I want my life to go. That's all. That's their 7 steps. Now, how do you do that? The thing is, it's different for each person. But when you understand the emotional pattern, you just apply it to a person, and it begins to flow naturally. But you have to know how to do that.
Awesome. What, just for my lack of note skills, what was number 7?
Related to their values, purpose,
okay,
spirituality, identity. You know, it's who are they becoming? You know, a famous, infamous quote. You know, I take a lot of things from Tony Robbins. One of the things, Business Mastery, was people don't buy products or services, they buy identity. That's a direct quote out of the boot camp 1. So what's that mean? How's that apply? Who are they becoming subluxated? That has to cause pain and suffering. They have to say, I don't want to do that anymore. Then who are they becoming unsubluxated? That's after the workshop. So we take them through this process of who are they becoming subluxated,
right.
Take responsibility for it, reframe it. Who can they become unsubluxated? Bring them into that high state where they want that so bad, they'll do anything to go through that process.
Got it.
Now, when they get in that state, boom, time and money, prepays a lay-down deal. You don't get, I don't have time. I mean, for what?
Right.
You have time for a program, but you're going to make time for disease. Is that what you're saying? How's that for a reframe?
Right.
So if you're not making time to get healthy, then you are making time for disease. I'm just curious. How would you like to spend your time? How's that for a pattern interruption question?
That's good.
That's responsibility, pattern interruption, and reframe. There's 3 steps in one question.
We need to get the book of one-liners from Dr. Fred DiDomenico. That's what we need.
Well, see, here's the thing, man. Now people are on there, well, I can't do this. Yeah, you can.
Right.
All you have to do is understand chiropractic.
Yeah.
You probably may need to go to the boot camps.
And when you walk them through this system, those one-liners will start coming up because you know why and how to reframe and how to do those types of things.
Oh, my God. Well, I can't do that. That's going to take too long. 1 sentence.
Right.
How long did that take?
Yeah.
So let's see. If you're not going to make time to get healthy, then that must mean you're making time for getting sick and disease.
Yeah.
How would you really like to spend your time, Mrs. Jones? That's like, boom! How long did that take? Is that better than pointing at an x-ray?
Yeah.
Talking about 35 degrees?
Right. Awesome, man. We're getting a little bit over the 30-minute mark there. So what, by the way, Dr. Zaino was on the line when we first started. He's still here. Hey, Dr. Zaino, how's it going, my friend?
Good. No, I've been here. I've just been taking notes.
Awesome.
Sorry,
Me
Matt.
too.
Talked way too long.
No, it's just like that. So you don't need my picture when he's done.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and go to the live chat. We've got a lot of viewers here on live. Really, Dr. Fred, I think you answered some of these questions already, but Juan asks a specific question here. He says, I would like to know the formula for coming up with the best fees. Practicing in Quito, Ecuador is obviously going to be much different than the U.S. I'd also like to know how you present your lifetime VIP care after an initial corrective care plan.
Okay, so let's do two parts. Let's have Dr. Fred talk about the fees, and I'll talk about the lifetime.
Okay. First of all, it's about creating value. I mean, you definitely should. You look at the demographic. Yeah, you don't have to adapt your fees to the demographic. What you have to do is create value. However, are there certain? I mean, I don't live in Ecuador, so I don't know, what the exchange is or the demographic. I have no idea about that. But you don't necessarily have to adapt completely to the demographic. You have to create massive value because people find a way. Yeah. There's people there that are finding a way to do things for their children.
Right.
So it's really about creating value.
Yeah.
With a little bit of the demographic in mind.
Right on. Now, I think that's a great answer, and I think it reminds me of, I think it's Michael Gerber that says, if you can't be the least, if you can't be the cheapest, then be the most expensive, because there's no strategic value in being second cheapest.
Yeah, and a one-liner came out of Genius Network, Joe Polish, said if people aren't complaining about your fees, you're not charging enough.
Right on.
And it's not that they're complaining, you create high value. But when everybody's prepaying, you need to raise your fees, provide a great service, and value yourself and what you're doing, and create an experience that they value so they'll find a way.
Awesome. Good answer.
I'll do the lifetime one. So the lifetime, how do you present that? Well, it's the next step, because remember, I think the whole lifetime VIP thing that we do and Dr. Tabor does is, like Dr. Fred said, it's yeah, you could start 80%, but like our mindset is always the end result, lifetime chiropractic care. That's for me is the purpose. The purpose is not to start you, it's to be with you and your family for a lifetime. So it always starts with that, the verbiage, the thought, the intention. So when it comes after that 36 visits or 60, whatever that is, this is what we do. And I always say, the corrective part was, slowing down the process, maintaining the process, getting some correction, reducing nerve interference. Because what people don't realize, they think they have a functional problem. See, functional problem on a nerve is I remove it. That's the people who you adjust them, their headache goes away. Oh, it's great. It's more functional, but they don't believe that it's really they have a pathological or organic problem. There's enough subluxation there over time. It's pathological. So as we start correcting the spine, then it gives the body a chance to replace diseased tissues with healthy tissues, and then you maintain that for the rest of your life. Because you're educating them not, like Dr. Fred said, not on just bone opera nerve, but maximum human potential. So the lifetime care, whatever fee you want to save per month, I do it just like a gym. The gym doesn't say, okay, I'm going to sign you up for 12 months. The gym is, this is what it is a month until you want out. So it's automatic. Boom, boom, boom. We don't talk about money anymore. It's a part of your utility. Like Dr. Fred says, everybody's got a freaking phone. They pay their electric bill, their water bill. They pay all these mortgages. They feel they have to. No, they don't call the electric company and say, "Well, I don't have money. Or I got to think about it." No, it's just part of their living, and chiropractic is on top of all that. So that's just kind of our mindset. So you present the lifetime care. This is what it is. And what if they don't want to do it? Then they usually don't do it. And then you got to go back to Dr. Fred said all the way back to your day one and realize that it started there, the failure. So if they're not ready to be lifetime, you can't, like Dr. Fred, you can't do a 10, like what took you 10 years, you can't shove that in their mouth in 10 minutes hoping to convert them for a lifetime. It has to start from day one right through. So that's why you go back to your day one process and figure out where were we missing it, and then you fix it.
Well, I want to say something really important that really elevates you, Chris, in your consciousness, and that is he's so focused on lifetime that he's big picture. The problem that you have with your chasing objections is you're willing to talk about small things. Dr. Chris is unwilling to talk about small things. What do you talk about? Your focus is one thing, lifetime. So all these objections, it's the same thing what I just said. Ms. Jones, if you're not willing to spend time getting better, then you're taking time for disease. How do you want to spend your time? Like, that's a big picture objection handler. Dr. Chris doesn't have small conversations with objections. I mean, I don't see in your office, but I already know you don't function at that consciousness. Why? Because all your objections are handled from a lifetime perspective, and you don't even address small things. You're literally unwilling to talk about small things. Would you agree?
Yeah, and you know what? If you guys noticed when Dr. Fred was talking, most people, they have the capabilities, but they're not used to future pacing. So Dr. Fred has to, and when they start, if they could see the future or just start to, look into the future and see where's my pattern taking me, then they wouldn't. Most of their objections are ridiculous when you think future tense. Right? I mean, it's like it makes no sense. It's like, well, the one thing is like, well, I got to, like you said before, I got to buy a car. It's like, well, wait a second. You're going to get a loan for the car. You're going to get a loan for a mortgage-free house. You're going to drive more than one car in your life. You're going to live in more than one area in your life. But you only got one body to live in. So what's more important? It's just like, so it's just this, like Dr. Fritz said, it's this big picture. Like most objections are myopic. They're just looking at today or tomorrow. It's more painful for them to let go of $5. But it's like the nail in the tire. If you see a nail in your tire, you don't go, well, I'm kind of worried about money. I'm going to wait on that. It's like, so what happens? The tire blows. They bend the rim. It's going to be way more expensive. But like Dr. Fred's always taking them to the future, and he's making them see the future with the care, which is heaven, and he shows them a picture of the future without the care and their continued thinking errors, and that equals hell. So so there's a feeling. You just don't show them, but then they got to feel, that problem. How do you want to spend your time? Well, I want to spend it being well. It's like there's so many things, guys, that was just said by Dr. Fred. It's future pacing, and they got to see it. If they all saw the future, too many people look back and say, if I had a second chance. Because they're looking back on the road that got them there, and like, oh, if I was to do it again, if I had like the guy going to the waterfalls, if I only knew, if I had a second chance, if I could go back and tell people. But that's a shitty way to live. To be like, oh, I wish I knew all this back then. Everybody says that with disease. But to be able to future pace and see that ahead of time, that person's saving their own life doing that, and then that's why you're leading them to that.
Yeah, you got to take them over the waterfall in their mind, right there.
Yeah.
To where they actually experience in their mind. Imagination is more powerful than knowledge. They have to imagine going over the waterfall and feeling the pain of drowning on the other side. And then they got to say, there's no way in heck I'm going there. Doc, what do I have to do? Show me. Well, the first thing I do with Chris, bring your family. Because you don't want your family going over the waterfall. So all of you in the raft right now, you do that better than anybody else. Because, see, that's big picture. So when somebody gives you some small objection, Dr. Chris just brushes it away like it doesn't even exist because his consciousness is above that. So, I mean, we could talk about that for a long time, so we'll move on to the next one.
Next question.
Okay, so...
Tabor, by the way, like Dr. Fred's going to be at the seminar, the CTL seminar, so, if you think this is good.
Absolutely. So everybody needs to scroll down below the video, and if you haven't yet, get your tickets for that seminar. And by the way, make sure that you reserve your hotel, and on the page below you can see the hotel reservations. Make sure you do that before Friday because the discount for the room block goes away Friday, and you need to call them because we don't have a code that you put in online. You actually just call them, tell them you're with Chiro Thought Leaders. They'll make sure you get a discount for the hotel rates.
Hey, I want to say one thing about that seminar because here's the difference. Someone asked me today, what's the difference between the people you coach that are really, really successful and the people that struggle? Here's what it is. It's one thing. People that struggle have a bunch of shoulds. People that are highly successful have musts. You got to go to the seminar. It's not a should, it's a must because what the consciousness of the people that are on that stage, one sentence from each person will change your practice. So if you're thinking about it, that's your first mistake.
Right on, man.
Don't be a should, make it a must. That's what
Absolutely.
I say about that.
I love it. All right, so I'm going to ask one question. It was actually on this platform before we started, and then we have two more that are actually related to, I believe they're related to Dr. Fred's talk today. So the first one's from Chad. Dr. Zaino, what brand of Vibe plate do you use in your office? I also noticed that you have portable Pettibon wobble chairs at and some other blue discs. What are the blue discs? Thanks.
The blue disc are the little wobble balls we have. You could call Shannon at 281-292-6300. She could help you out with that. The Vibe plates, that's from one of my patients. He made them. They got a lifetime guarantee. Those things been humming for 7 years and have not broke, nothing. So you get it. It's a lifetime warranty on everything. Again, you call Shannon again. Shaver, put the number, and she'll help you out with that. So
Awesome.
that's
I'll,
that.
I'll put the number below there, and then you should also be able to log into chirothoughtleaders.com. And when you log into your membership, you'll look under the products tab, and you'll have that phone number from Shannon right there as well.
Cool.
Awesome. So, okay, question here. Recently, I had my X-ray scanner go down, and it's supposed to be another week to get fixed. How much of an influence are the X-ray pictures as opposed to the posture pictures with the Posture Mobile? Do you recommend using both or one or the other?
I'll let Dr. Fred do that one. That's more of a.
You mean
That's
like
more.
posture screen?
Yeah, I think he means posture screen. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would use both. You definitely need to look inside, man, because
Yeah.
you could have somebody without a forward head posture, but they got a cervical kyphosis.
Right.
So the posture screen is phenomenal, but it doesn't give you the whole picture. It doesn't show ligament injuries and things that are so significant. You got intersegmental translations and things that literally will determine could practically determine a lifespan of a person.
So what would you do if your X-ray machine went down for a week? Would you refer out to an imaging center, or would you do pictures until you got your X-rays fixed?
I'd find somebody to fix it as fast as possible.
Gotcha.
Option C. I like that.
Get a freaking fix. Call somebody else. Find an answer.
And let me tell you, there are guys out there. There's X-ray companies. I know we got rid of our first guy because we found a company. He was like, "Oh, it'll be a week." And they said, "Dr. Zaino, it'll be a week." I'm like, "Find somebody." And this guy drove over an hour that night and did what had to be done. So, and because he did that, I paid him extra, and he became our, like he earned it. So you could have it done. Just one of those things. Just find a way where there's no way, and then do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
You do need that. Dr. Fred's so right, because I remember Dr. Fred, like, you can't just say, here, just lay over this Denerol, and it's right on ligaments to be and shear the spine. So you got it, and I think that's one thing Dr. Fred talked about it. A pattern interrupt. We gotta be, it can't be chiropractic to someone could be going in and getting, no exams, no X-rays, flying 7, or it could be spinal corrective model, and it's all under the same term chiropractic, but it isn't all the same. And so we want to make sure the world gets the best they can, And so I think I wouldn't adjust someone out of picture ever.
I agree, 100%. We have to be the best. Let's go. Next question. If a doctor is to get proficient with the consultation, what is the average amount of time you should spend with a patient and still be effective with the consultation? I guess this would be day 1. About how much time should be spent with the patient during day 1 and then also during the ROF?
Well, if you're doing a day 2 ROF, we say 15 minutes max. I mean, you can certainly make it less than that. I mean, a consultation, when you're going through the organ problems, it's like martial arts. You got to do big circles and then small circles. I mean, when I practiced, we would allow 15 to 20 minutes from the minute I shook their hand till we were taking X-rays and out the door. So there are ways to do it very quickly. But you got to get the systems down. So big circles to small circles. People that have 32 health problems, the consultation is going to take a little longer. But you have to know how to control the conversation. We spend 4 hours on this at a boot camp. When you're throwing out 3 or 4 organ problems, man, you can't throw them out one at a time. You can't ask OPQRST on every friggin' organ problem. I mean, you got to narrow your time down and get what's important. If you want them to focus on organs, for instance, we have a patient application form. The OPQRST on their back pain, is on the patient application. We don't go through OPQRST because now you're focusing on it. So you got to look at a lifetime patient has very specific focus. And the better you get and the more you learn to read people, it's not only the organ problem, but what's the emotion that's associated with the organ problem. So you learn as you're throwing out those organ problems, you're watching them move, you're putting yourself in their shoes. I mean, just a roll of the eyes can tell you what an emotion is. You have to study, watch their body language. It means your focus has to be so intentful on them. If you're in your own mind, you're going to miss all those emotions. Now the consultation is going to take twice as long.
Right.
I could do it.
Practice. I'll sum it up. It's practice. You go to the boot camp. That's the thing. I don't want you to be like, the boot camp's full immersion, but then it takes daily practice for the rest of your life after that. And then you just get better. The mastery practice is what leads you to that. So it's going to be practice. But like Dr. Fred, it might be long in the beginning, but you practice it. You don't get frustrated. You don't go from level to Anthony Robbins in a week or a month. It took him 35 years of doing it. So you practice every single day. So you develop the discipline of practice. That's a very good discipline. It's like, so if you practice it 5 times in 1 week, you're going to be better than you were the week before. So, appreciate and enjoy the progress and the process of it. So I think that do not get intimidated like, oh, look how good he is, and I'm over here, and I can't. You know what? Start right now. Like Dr. Fred said, okay, you don't like where you're at right now, you don't like the way you are, you want to be here, well, now you need to change the road. What is the action you're going to take? What's the new habit and discipline you're going to do? Because something has to change for you to get to that point. So that's why there's action. There's no thinking about what's the action. What do I have to do? Action, go to a boot camp. What do? I get that starts the process. Then my habit is I take my thinking errors that I was doing that got me a result, I switch them for newly high successful habits of practicing where I learned the boot camp. And then you just keep that process, and that never ends. I was talking to Dr. Fred, I was talking to Roberto today. Roberto's studying different stuff. Like, he's not done learning. Like, it's like we're always constantly learning and refining, and it's like it starts. That's what we do. We're professionals. Professionals practice all the time. And then when Fred did, so I'll tell you, Dr. Fred's way better than he was 2 years ago. And then 3 years from now, he's going to be even. So the thing is, don't think that, I went to the boot camp last year. Totally different. And then 2 years from now, totally better. And so that's why there's always progression. That's what happens. That's human need, right? Growth.
Exactly. Well, and I'll sum up what you said. Here's people's biggest problems. If you don't have the discipline to practice, then how do you expect your patients to have the discipline to make their appointments become lifetime patients? If you don't make that commitment for constant and ever improvement in your life and daily rituals, then how can your patients do it?
It's actually fun. It's wonderful. It's because the day, when you do it every day, it's like you're improving every day. It's a very good thing to get into. It's a very rewarding. You never feel like a day went by. So it's like you got something accomplished. Whether you read the book, whether you practice, it's like you're taking steps towards the life you want to have 10 years from now. What did I do today that's going to ensure my goal 10 years from now? Well, if it was me just napping, that's not going to do it. So time's ticking. So what am I doing to ensure that? We're on this call right now. What are we doing right now? We're growing. And
Absolutely.
Hopefully you guys are growing. So it's addicting. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
I agree, 100%. Here's a question that I'd like to weigh in on here as well. You guys are the Chiro gurus of online marketing and email marketing. I'm wondering how you learned everything in Infusionsoft, Aweber, etc. You guys take a seminar, or what's the best way to learn that? That is one thing I will be speaking on at the seminar, is email marketing. And how you learn that here, though, Juan, is I would recommend Aweber, by the way, over Infusionsoft. Aweber is what we use for our practice. It's easier to learn. We use Infusionsoft for Chiro Thought Leaders. It's a little bit more intricate and complicated, and you can do a little bit more with it. But start with the support videos that they create, because you can go into Aweber, and under support, they actually create it's almost like its own program. Like if you were going to buy an online training program, they have their own in support, and you can watch every single one of those videos and know how to do 99% of things in that software. And if you're using Infusionsoft, you can do the same thing, and you can also look up Tyler Garnes. He's very good at teaching how to use Infusionsoft, and then they also have their own seminars as well. So.
And Tabor, let's give the even more honest answer. It was modeling. You know, like Tabor and I, you know, we thought it was a great idea. We enjoyed watching like Evan Pagan and all these guys, you know, and we're like, wow, I wish we could do that. So we literally modeled.
Absolutely.
You know, Tabor modeled him. Tabor saved all his emails and modeled it and said, well, he showed 3 videos. We'll show 3 videos. So, and Tabor had a passion for this as well. And he did some really good stuff. So in the beginning, he modeled it. I remember that Tabor and I, we did like a thing for Evan Pagan, who was like, you know, making million tens, you know, and we actually were an affiliate and we won. Like, remember that?
Yep.
Like, how cool is that? Like, out of the blue, like we come on and we beat guys that were in the business for years, killing it. And then here, like Tabor comes up and he smashes, he breaks the record, wins the number 1 spot, and it really was like, we didn't know. We just modeled. So we modeled the behavior. Then as we modeled it, you know, then Tabor got more deep into the specifics. So when he does talk through his experience and trials and errors and mistakes and stuff like that, like we really, it's fun. I was laughing because he's the term guru. And we're not gurus. But I'll tell you right now, we modeled behavior, modeled successful behavior, and literally jumped into it. We didn't wait till we were ready. We just did it, had fun with it. We had a course correct. And Tabor really, I can tell you, Tabor, to give all credit to Tabor, like he's grown as a human individual so much in the last year, not only business professionally, but he'd grown professionally and he went through a lot of personal things that he grew in as well. So, I mean, you really did. Your confidence, you know, I saw a hangout we did a couple years ago, and you can even tell in Tabor's voice, his confidence is through the roof because he's starting to figure out it's not luck anymore. He's really certain. So. I think I told you that before, but you can definitely see Tabor has grown tremendously as a human individual. But you know, he jumped into it. You know, well, he didn't wait. He dove in and he learned how to swim. You know, and then he you're called a guru. So that's a good compliment.
That's a good feeling. Thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate
Absolutely.
it. And he's right. You can model. You know, look up some chiropractic offices that are doing email marketing already and get on their email list, and then start modeling them as well. All right, we got one for Dr. Fred here. Dr. Fred, when you're asking the patient about their goals, you said before that you need to find out what they don't want. So should both of these be asked on a sheet of paper, or how would you go about asking that?
Well, in our workshop, we actually have a slide at a very strategic point in the new patient workshop, and we describe and we stop and we have them write their 20 to 30-year health and life goals. And right then you qualify them. In other words, you don't want to be sitting in that ROF afterwards with unqualified goals. So you give them examples, like your goal isn't to run a marathon. You know, that's very short term. Your goal may be to run continual marathons for the next 20 years. Your goal isn't to lose 20 pounds. Your goal is to lose 20 pounds to stay healthy, young, and fit. So you give them examples of what those goals are, and then you lead them more what their vision is. Then you may have people stand up and read them because other people inspire. Especially what's really inspirational is the kids, because a lot of times kids have such, they don't have a lot of inhibitions. They write down amazing goals and inspires the adults. And if someone stands up and they have a short-term goal, you say, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. You know what? That's a really great goal. I admire that. You always acknowledge and compliment. And then you say, you could lose 20 pounds in 6 months or whatever it is. That really is a short-term goal. So what you really mean, Mrs. Jones, is this. Would you agree? So you're acknowledging you're not making them wrong. And then she goes, yeah, that's it. And you actually induce a higher state like that. So you make sure they're all qualified. You raise the tone of the crowd on those. You raise the tone through acknowledgement. Those are amazing goals. And then you tell them, when you see the highest resource, you communicate that to them. And you raise their tone even more. This is a really amazing group. I mean, we have groups that are inspired every week, and I'm inspired by the vision of the people in this audience. And I just want to let you know that I believe every person in this group right now can live that life? How many people, raise your hand, believe you can live that life? And when they do this, and I would say, give yourself a hand. I'm raising the tone. Everybody give yourself a hand. You know what I mean? Now they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you bring them into a report of findings. Right?
Nice.
Tony Robbins does, man. He has them jumping around at UPW. How does he get 5,000 people to walk across 2,300-degree coals? Because he gets them in such a peak state, your mind could run through a freaking brick wall. Well, you can do that in your audience. You got to know how to control your crowd. Go to Roberto Monaco. You combine these things. Roberto teaches the same thing. He studied NLP, #1 salesperson for Tony Robbins. There's a reason Roberto is world class.
Absolutely.
We just apply all the stuff that the world class leaders do. You can do it with one person, 10 people, a spouse, or a workshop, or a stadium. It's all the same.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's all good.
So that actually leads us into a good place to close. And you just mentioned Roberto Monaco. He's going to be on the show next week with us, answering questions. And I got to thank you, Dr. Fred, for a great training. And then I want to thank everybody out there for being on, watching, posting great questions, and for you guys giving great answers. We really appreciate you being on. Anything you want to say in closing?
Hey, make sure you go to Chiro Thought Leaders. It's going to be a massive, massive expansion in your consciousness. You want to go to the next level, then go listen to next level people that can help you enlighten yourself. And really, that's it. The light will shine from you, from the inside out, after that weekend, no question. You will find a light. If you think the light's already in you, let's just turn up the volume a little bit and watch what happens to you, your practice, your family, everything in your life. So make that a pivotal point.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Fred. Chris, you good?
I'm great, guys. Again, what a way to end the day, right? Yeah. So I imagine if you ended every day like this, how awesome life and practice would be. So thank you so much for those of you who joined us and those of you who have watched the replay. And I'll see you next week.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Right on. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Take care.